All right, we'll track down Mitch in a second. He's certainly writing feverishly about this breaking news.
Yeah, he probably didn't know, and it caught him off guard. And he's like, "Oh man, I got to write a column."
Maybe he's calling somebody. Maybe he's talking to somebody.
Yeah, somebody.
I don't know.
Okay.
He's calling somebody for comment.
Sure.
That's what reporters do, right? They call people for comment.
Maybe he's trying to get in touch with Patrick Mahomes.
That he probably is.
Mm-hmm.
I'm waiting for Patrick Mahomes to respond to my tweet.
Oh, you did a tweet?
Yeah, I said, when will @Patrick Mahomes tweet about Dylan Raiola becoming the starter? The silence is deafening.
Well, we got to boost that tweet.
Let's go. I hope that I broke the news to him.
Oh, really?
He might have got it. He probably got a text, you know.
Hey, little cuzzo, just wanted you to know.
I like the little cuzzo bit too. It's kind of funny. When will he do it? The silence is deafening.
Many are asking.
This is our friend Ben Stevens, formerly known as Big Ten Ben.
Hi.
Do you know Ben?
Formerly Big Ten Ben?
Yeah, formerly Big Ten Ben. He's doing some other things now. He's in the sports grid.
Okay.
You know, he does banger tweets every once in a while.
Oh.
So Dylan Raiola will become the second true freshman to have started a season opener at Nebraska. Post Adrian Martinez in 2020 or 2018. He reminds us of Adrian Martinez's stats when he started 11 games. Now he started 11 games. He missed the entire Troy game, and really, he didn't really play against Michigan. I mean, he was out after 2 drives against Michigan because he was, first of all, not healthy, and second of all, they were getting absolutely bludgeoned, and they were like, let's just sit out. And then that's when Scott Frost, that, you know, coming back that Monday, said, hey, we got a winnable game against Purdue. And then they lost that game too. But Adrian played it. I think Mitch is caught. Oh, no, it's gone. 2,617 passing yards, 17 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, with 629 yards in the ground and 8 touchdowns. So Adrian Martinez accounted for 25 touchdowns that year, 8 interceptions, and about 3,200 yards. That barometer has come up several times when we've talked about, hey, what are the expectations statistically for Dylan Raiola in his freshman year? I think that would be a very nice year. It'd be a very nice if he amassed somehow 3,200 yards, 25 touchdowns, and 8 picks. I think that would be pretty much right on par with what I expect. So we're joined now on the 42 Degrees Source Hotline by Mitch Sherman of The Athletic. Mitch, good. Oh, let me turn you on here. Mitch, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. I'm good. How are you, Connor?
Good. Did you hear the news?
I did. I saw the news. Had to check to make sure it was real for a couple of minutes. Wasn't expecting it to be unveiled in that fashion, but nevertheless, the news we expected.
Indeed, it is. And so it immediately started to get me thinking about what it means. First of all, let's do this. What does it mean now for the rest of the room? Now that they can be, Matt Rule can be a little bit more forthcoming about how it's gone during camp and how it's gone over the last several months and whatever. Would you expect to hear anything about what it does to those other 2 quarterbacks in that room before Nebraska plays in their first game?
Well, I think how they'll try to frame this is that it's not really going to change much of anything, because they're going to continue to work together to win, and Rule won't drop his stance that he's taken throughout this offseason, that Nebraska is going to need 3 quarterbacks to win this year. Not that they're all going to have to start games, but they're all going to have to do something, even if that means it's in practice or in the meeting room, whatever it might be. And probably more than 3. I think you can expand that to 4 with Jalen Gramstad and the role that he'll play. So, I'm interested to see kind of when you cut through that, though, Connor, the real talk. Like, okay, is Haarberg going to dabble in some other elements? Who is officially the number 2 quarterback. We assume that it's Heinrich Haarberg, but if they feel confident enough in what either Gramstad or Kalen has done here in August to put one of those guys in the number 2 spot, does it allow you some freedom to move Heinrich Haarberg around? Now you can officially start talking about that and asking that question and getting an answer that isn't just shrouded in this, we're going to need them all. But I do think that he'll continue to talk about the importance of the other quarterbacks in the room, even while they're not expected to play, as long as Dylan stays healthy.
The idea right out of the gate was that Raiola would be the starter. Kalen, hopefully he can get to the point where, you feel like you could put him in a game and he can kind of be the real true number 2 backup. And Heinrich Haarberg also can play that role, but also you can do some different things with him and do packages. It was mentioned, kind of offhand by Howard Griffith on the BTN thing, and it kind of cropped back up in my mind, at least at that point. I'll ask you this, Mitch. Has everything gone, if that was the idea, has everything gone to plan to put Nebraska in a position where they can do something like that this year?
I think so, yeah. This is the plan. The plan was for, of course, everyone to stay healthy. That's the big uncontrollable, and it's worked out. Gramstad, they found a guy in Gramstad who was uniquely positioned to fill the role that he's filling, and it seemed to have gone pretty well with him, to the point where you feel comfortable if he's needed, and he's adding in this element outside of the practice field or outside of the game environment. And yeah, I mean, you're listening to Matt Rule talk about Danny Kalen last Saturday. They're clearly happy with his progress and are bullish on his future. Some of that is that they want to talk him up because they want him to stay happy in the program, and they want him to be patient and believe that his time will come at some point. It might be unexpected and be sooner rather than later, or it could be a couple of years down the road, 3 years down the road, even if Dylan has the magical career that they hope that he has. So yeah, now it's like the train's out of the station, and you can just like start to assess how all of this is going to work out. I'm wondering myself about Haarberg's role and whether it's realistic to believe that he can fit in at a spot other than quarterback this year, when you consider the different weapons that Nebraska has at all of those positions. Last year, it was a different kind of makeup with the skill players than it is right now.
Don't you think? And this is probably the argument to do it earlier, to do what they just did an hour ago earlier. But do you think not that Dylan Raiola, because one of the things that we've noticed from watching practice is that he has command and he has control, especially over that first group. But now that, all of that competition stuff, I guess, is kind of behind us and we can move forward this way. Like, what does that mean for Dylan Raiola? What does that do for him in the next week or so and into the start of the season?
They want to keep it as normal as they can for him. And I think that's been a part of the reason that this offseason has played out the way that it has. Like, let him continue to focus on his process. He does things his way as a quarterback, and that's been guided by all of the forces that we know about, from his dad and his dad's old teammates to the coaches and trainers that Dylan has called on. And now he's got this process at Nebraska, and they don't want to disrupt that because they feel like he's been outstanding with the progress that he's made, and he's stayed focused. So the hope, of course, is that when you do this, it doesn't all change, and you don't want him to start feeling additional pressure. So I don't think they're going to change a lot. Like, I don't think you're going to see Dylan. He may come to the interview on Tuesday when the players talk, but until he becomes entrenched and is like the guy, and it's very clear that he's taken to this well. Yeah, I don't think you're going to see Nebraska put him in positions that are all that different from what we've seen him in over the last several months.
I don't know how much you've thought about this, because we were just talking about it before you came on here from a statistical perspective. And like I said, this conversation hasn't changed over the last several months because we knew which way this was sort of going. But Like what are you sort of expecting from him, from Dylan, from a season long statistical perspective? Like where do you start that and then, kind of evaluate from there?
Well, they're going to throw the ball more this year. That's very clear. And you start to look at the makeup of the offense, and they want to build it around a pro style passing game. So that's going to influence the number of attempts that Raiola gets. It's going to influence, the yardage and touchdowns that you could expect. I still don't think I still think that they, of course, want to have a presence on the ground. They absolutely do. They want to be a physical team. I'm not looking for gaudy numbers.
No.
Out of the gate. I think if he throws for 220 to 250 yards a game and keeps the turnovers at a minimum, then they're going to be right in the place that they want to be with their offensive progress. Like, that's a start. And then obviously it's dictated by the directions that the game goes. And there are games where you're going to want to throw it more because you need to. And there are other games where you're going to want to shut things down from an offensive standpoint when you get into the middle of the third quarter and just secure the win and move on to the next week and develop that physical brand of football that Nebraska wants to be known for, even with a 5-star quarterback slinging the ball.
Mitch, I'm curious, outside of the quarterback spot, I guess it could be included here, but now that we're at the, kind of tail end of this thing, heading into actual football, games talk, is there a position group that you feel like has gone stock up since camp started more than any other?
I think I'd maybe say the secondary, because I felt good about the defensive line and I felt good about the receivers. On the offensive side, I'd say the receivers, because it's just been a continuous rise. And there were still some questions about that group, I think, coming into camp, but they've done everything you can without playing games to answer those questions. On the defensive side, felt good about the D-line, and the secondary, I think, has solidified, and that was somewhat evident by the way that their teammates voted in the single-digit presentation yesterday, with 3 new DBs, or 3 DBs, not new, but experienced, but new to this single-digit thing, joining Deshaun Singleton and Isaac Gifford. Right now, they're excited about what this secondary can do, and I think John Butler's been a hit in camp here. It could have gone either way. It could have been a longer than you wanted to take process because he came in so late in the off season, but it's gone the direction, by all observations, that the best that you could have possibly hoped. And I think these guys have bought into what he's selling, and it's evident in the way they're coming out of camp here, with a very defined group atop the depth chart in the defensive backfield.
All right, Mitch. I think that makes us ready to go. We got the starting quarterback announcement out of the way, and now the countdown is really on. Appreciate you taking the time, as always, and we'll talk to you next week.
All right. Thanks, Connor.